Hey folks, this is Kalani. I want to have a look at some professions and how they seem to be panning out in Warlords of Draenor. Now, this is still pretty early beta, so take everything with a pinch of salt. Not all of it might make it through. There's already been quite a few iterations on the profession process, but we're going to have a little look at how currently it's looking to progress. So the first thing that you need to know is that you need scrolls to level up your profession. So if you want to get past 600, you'll need to grab one of these scrolls to teach you Draenor Master. Okay, now that's required. There are no trainers, there's no other way that you can get this. It's the same for all professions, gathering, production and secondary. You need these scrolls. If you're curious about where these scrolls come from, I can link you to a video where I talk about it in more detail, but for kind of a general overview, gathering and secondary you get from random drops, and then any production ones you get from a quest. They also give you the garrison blueprint, which we need to progress through the profession. Now, as you can see, I'm 7 of 700 and 1 of 700 for both of my professions currently. These can be learned with no experience in a profession. So obviously I'm 1 of 700 Jewelcrafting. I literally just picked that up and learned the scroll. That's kind of how these things are going to work. As a quick note, for Jewelcrafting and for quite a few of the others, it doesn't seem to be the case for Alchemy, but we'll get on to the ways you can catch up in a little bit. But all of these recipes are simply to get you to 600. After 600, these ones go grey. That's the current setup. I'm not entirely sure if that's intended or it's going to continue forward, etc, etc, etc. That's just how it works right now. Now, if you're worried about catch-up, there are several items for each profession which you can use to gain some skill ups. So for Alchemy we've got Cracked Test Tube combined with 4 Frostweave to restore this item for your garrison. Also grants 5 skills up to a max of 600. So that's literally just right click. If you've got the required item, I've got a nice stock of herbs here so you can just get all of these done. You can see my Alchemy going up there 5 at a time. No problem. That's fantastic. Now, what's nice about these items is that you can actually turn them in your garrison. So we've got the alchemist around here. You can turn these in for garrison resources. So they're not exactly all that useful, but to give you 5 resources and 5 skill ups, it's pretty nice. It's a nice catch-up mechanic, and it's a damn sight cheaper than using other materials, even for the Jewelcrafting ones here. I know the Jewelcrafting ones use 2 Blackrock ore or 2 True Iron ore, so either which way you're still saving money, and it's going to get you skills up faster and cheaper. The only downside is that those come from monsters out in the world, so you'll need to be killing quite a bit to make use of them. Now the second thing, which seems to be pretty prevalent throughout professions, is these secrets. Now I've already used mine today, and I used it to buy a recipe. I used it to buy the Dranic Strength Flask. So in your garrison, you need to talk to your profession trainer, inverted commas. Doesn't actually train you anything, he'll just sell you recipes. But all of them cost Secret of Draenor profession. For Alchemy, obviously, that's Alchemy. All of these cost it. All of them. And hey, when you've got all your recipes, you can even trade it in for a small pouch of coins. Now this is on a daily cooldown. It used to be, we'll do this quickly because this was recently changed. Okay, so it used to be on your daily cooldown for your crafting material. They've changed it to be a separate recipe, but it's still on that daily cooldown. Meaning you're gonna have to be spending quite a few days crafting and making sure you do this to get all of your recipes, which might be a little annoying, and it looks as though you're kind of locked into buying one before the other. Here you need to buy the base agility flask to get the greater agility flask. I've already got the strength one, so I can go ahead and buy the strength one, but if you want everything, you're literally going to have to buy everything. So I read on MMO Champion with this update that there was a potential change in this, where it would let you gather 3 charges, but each charge would still be on a daily cooldown. So essentially you could skip it for 3 days, then create 3, but then you'd still have to wait another day to get 1 charge, and wait 3 days to get those 3 back. which is kind of a nicer way of doing it, but I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about everything being severely gated behind these secrets, but that's the way it's looking right now. So for alchemy, things are looking kind of painful to catch up. You don't have a great deal of catch up unless you've got loads of those materials. But what I can show you is that you can level up two different ways. So I learned that strength flask, even though I'm still not 600 alchemy, meaning that all of the recipes currently can be learned without needing 600, which is kind of strange. You can see all of these require 1. I'm not sure if that's intended. It's kind of strange that these are the only recipes that we've got right now. I know there is another recipe vendor over in Ashran, but these seem to be what you'd want anyway. These seem to be the flasks that you'd be wanting to raid with. So we'll have to see how that goes. But right now, nothing has a level requirement, and it seems as though you can level through fishing or herbs. Flasks would be your herbs, and you need sorceress water, which is also kind of awkward. So to get your sorceress items, which are your new motes, effectively, your new primals, your new, that kind of thing, you need to craft your crafting material. So for alchemy, this is alchemical catalyst. You need this in pretty much all of your materials, except the potions, for some reason. But you need them for all the flasks. And there's a chance when you craft this to gain a sorceress item. So these sorceress items are dependent on what you're crafting. So fire is alchemy, blacksmithing, enchanting and engineering. Earth is blacksmithing, inscription, jewelcrafting and leatherworking. Air is enchanting, etc, etc, etc. So I'll just show you the water on there. It's alchemy, inscription, leatherworking and tailoring. So there is some crossover there, but that seems to be the only way to create these. Now, because this is on a day cooldown, there is another way to get this item, and it's also useful to get your sorceress stuff. In your garrison, at your appropriate little building, you can set work orders. Now, there's a maximum of 3, and each one takes 1 minute. I've completed 3 work orders here, so 18 catalyst and 1 sorceress fire. So I'll go ahead and start some more work orders. You can see their progress in your garrison report. So you can see I've got 3 completed at both the Forge and Gem. We'll have a look at those later. But you can see it's ticking over, and it takes a minute for each work order. So you can get yourself more of your crafting material and more of your sorceress materials. Now the other way to level alchemy seems to be through fishing. You can create crescent oil from a crescent saber fish flesh, which is kind of interesting. All fish convert into meats, effectively, so you don't sell the raw fish. But that's kind of a video for fishing. But all of these potions use more fish meat and then the crescent oil. So literally none of these use herbs, which is kind of interesting. So you've got 2 options. You can level through fishing, or you can level through herbalism, which is odd. But you'll also know that you also need some ore in there for your catalyst. So that's how alchemy is working right now. Let's have a look at jewelcrafting. I'm a little more familiar with jewelcrafting because I've leveled this all the way up to 600. So once again we've got our secrets, so we'll go ahead and create that. That will let us learn a recipe. You notice there's some epics in here as well. For 1, and can be crafted at 1. See, this seems it's exactly the same across all of them, so we'll go ahead and buy one of those recipes. That's how things are working. Requires level 91 for that epic. It's kind of interesting. Everything also seems to be random enchantment. Now this was the same for blacksmithing. We'll get onto that a little later. We'll ditch alchemy and have a little look. But everything seems to be random enchantment. So random enchantment, and this is your of the bear, of the boar, of the God knows what. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not entirely sure I'm a fan of that. You're going to have to craft quite a few pieces before you get the stats that you want. Although I guess on the flip side, you can craft quite a few pieces to get the stats that you want. So we've done the daily for the secrets, we've done the daily for the Talladite. I did that earlier just to make sure you don't get a secret from it. Seems that you don't, so you're still limited to 1 secret. But once again, you can have your work orders. I have 3 completed. We'll pick up some sorceress items and some more crystals. So we'll go ahead and start those up. Now, Jewelcrafting is just really nice. And when I say really nice, I mean really nice. You literally just have to wait for your work orders to be complete, and you can craft more items. This is probably the fastest I've ever leveled any profession, which is kind of crazy. So, as we can see, we just happily got ourselves above 600, and the first thing you'll notice is that everything turned grey, except for the recipe that I bought from our garrison building. Now, obviously you've still got Talladite Crystal and your secrets, but they're on a day cooldown, so you'd either have to create the same recipe several times. Bear in mind, you need 20 Blackrock ore for 5 crystals, so that's 50 Blackrock ore and 10 True Iron ore for each one of these rings. So, while that's obviously doable, it's not going to be overly ideal. If you're interested in numbers to get from 1 to 600, roughly, from creating these other rings, it should be around 480 Blackrock ore and 600 True Iron ore, and that should get you from 1 to 600. So it's not quite as expensive as what blacksmithing is currently in Mists of Pandaria, but it is quite a chunk of ore, and going forward from there you'd need another 500 Blackrock ore and then 100 True Iron ore to get the extra 100 points. No, you wouldn't, because it's... Yes, you would, times 10, because it's 10 points, we need to create 10 of them. Almost tricked myself. So 500 Blackrock ore and 100 True Iron ore will get you to 700 from 600 just crafting this one recipe. Obviously you've got a few to choose from, but you need to get your hands on some more secrets. Bear in mind, obviously you've got a wait time with the Talladite as well. Creating 5 is going to take a minute. Obviously not going to stall you for too long, but something to consider. So I don't know, it's not like you're going to be stuck at 600 and not being able to go anywhere, but getting your hands on a variety of different things is definitely going to take you a while, especially something like this. That's kind of awesome and cool, and it's going to take you 15 days before you can even get the recipe, which is kind of crazy. But there's a quick look at the professions. I did go ahead and drop Alchemy. I picked up Blacksmithing, so where's Blacksmithing in here? There's Blacksmithing. We'll go ahead and learn this, and I'll show you that Blacksmithing is pretty much the exact same as Jewelcrafting. The only ones that I can imagine may be an issue is tailoring and leatherworking, simply because of the materials required. Obviously you're going to need the cloth and the furs and the skins and such, which aren't quite as easy to come by as metals, especially when you consider you've got a free mine in your garrison which seems to spit out ore, so that's pretty cool. But you can see it's pretty much exactly the same. You've got true steel ingot, which is on a day cooldown. Let's go ahead and make that. So that's a day cooldown, that's fantastic. We can't create a secret of Draenor blacksmithing. That's kind of interesting because I haven't used this yet, so I'm not entirely sure what that's being shared with. It's kind of worrying if that's being shared with a different profession, or maybe that's just a bug and it's being shared with true steel ingot currently. I'm not entirely sure. But if that's the case, then there is literally no reason to craft a true steel ingot. Just go ahead and craft the secrets. But as I say, it's still beta. There could be things which aren't fully implemented yet, but pretty much exactly the same. You've got these cheaper, I guess. These are actually kind of quite a bit more expensive than the Jewelcrafting ones, but they're there to get you to 600, and they'll probably turn grey just like the Jewelcrafting ones did. You've got your work orders, Same deal, 20 true iron ore for 5 true steel ingots, or it should be thereabout. Remember, you've got your sorceress, water, air, earth and fire playing about in there as well. And then if we can actually find our blacksmith, you've got your recipes in there as well. Some of these are actually for gold, so I'm wondering if that's just because these are blue. So maybe blue recipes for gold and epic recipes for secrets. Let's just check that against our Jewelcrafting quickly. Well, that one's blue, but that rerolls properties, so you can kind of understand why that would need a secret. And then everything else is epic or your special cuts. So yeah, I guess that's the reasoning behind that. Now, bear in mind, they do require Jewelcrafting? Or is that just going to be one gem? Because I haven't seen any other gems around here. That's kind of interesting if you can cut this one gem into pretty much everything. So we're not going to have colour slots. I need to get secrets on this to see how this pans out. This is really frustrating being behind the secret barrier. But one last thing that I did want to point out is that all of the rings that I crafted, getting up to 600, they're all soulbound. So it'd be nice to have an enchanter right about now, but yeah, you won't be able to sell those, you won't be able to make those for alts, which is kind of annoying. You won't be able to make bank, essentially, off selling those on the auction house. But that is a quick little overview. Didn't turn out to be so quick, but never mind. Hopefully it's given you a good look-see into what to expect from your professions in Warlords of Draenor. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.